So it seems almost without fail, every time Joe Biden opens his mouth, he tends to put his foot in it, either, just completely forgetting what he's trying to say, not answering the questions, just, having a lot of nonsensical statements and words and phrases coming out of his mouth, or just really saying some really offensive and racist things. And this interview or talk he was given with Yahoo News is the latter. Let's talk about it, and then, or let's watch it, and then we'll discuss. It's pretty disturbing, frankly.
But you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things. But you all know, but most people don't know.
Jesus, dude.
Unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community.
God damn, that's so fucking racist and problematic. You can't just have these huge blanket statements about groups of people. I mean, Jesus Christ. And then, what was it? He was on, or giving that interview with the Breakfast Club. Charlemagne, the God, was asking him, I forgot what the exact question is, but Joe Biden's response was like, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. And then here he is saying, with a few exceptions, there's no diversity within the African American or black voting bloc. It's just a monolith, when there's actually diversity in the Hispanic or Latino voting bloc. I mean, it's like, how did he think this was going to go over well, or help him with either group of people? I mean, it's disgusting, right? I mean, but again, that is Joe Biden not really able to get out there. And it's obviously a reason why his campaign is running this strategy of limited exposure, trying to hide Joe Biden in his basement as much as possible. Anytime he comes out and gives these media, this media exposure, well, whether it's just him delivering statements, these written statements he's reading off a teleprompter or cards, or answering questions, he just ends up saying things that are so problematic. And what are you talking about? The black vote is not monolithic whatsoever. And yes, the black voters overall, as kind of a per capita, supported Joe Biden more than, let's say, Bernie Sanders. But if you break it down by, age, it was the older black voters that were supporting Joe Biden, and the younger ones going to Bernie Sanders overwhelmingly. So it's like, I mean, Jesus Christ. It's just so disgusting. Yeah, I mean, but again, and then there's, people trying to paint, Trump as the not racist candidate, which isn't a thing. You're either, working towards being an anti-racist in your behaviors and actions and words and deeds, or you're engaging in, racist behavior, actions, words, and deeds. Trump's obviously, the latter. But yeah, I mean, they're both hugely problematic on the issue of race, Black Lives Matter, all of that stuff. There's not a whole lot of difference between Trump and Biden on that issue, at least to my opinion. I tried to show it again.
African American community, with notable exception. Yes, and by the way, what you all know, but most people don't know.
Nobody actually knows that or thinks that, or they shouldn't, Joe, because that's not true. Again, there's huge differences among people, whether you're white, black, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, whatever your racial or ethnic background is. There can be, a lot of differences with regards to your political ideology, who you prefer, what kind of policies you support, etc. And just to make those broad blanket statements is, hugely problematic and racist, and shows that you're, in this particular case, taking the black vote for granted and just setting aside like, oh, they're going to support me, they support Democrats no matter what, and trying to pander to the Latino or Latinx vote in this case by saying they're more diverse. Or it's like there's diversity within all of these racial and ethnic groups, Joe. Again, if you really want to do yourself a favor, go hide in the basement, okay? Don't debate if you can, because the more you come out, the more you engage with the media, the more you open your mouth, the worse chances of you getting elected are, even though, it should be a grand slam at this point, like a huge probability of him actually winning, because, again, Trump has just had a horribly abysmal response throughout this coronavirus pandemic, both from a public health perspective as well as from an economic perspective. And polls show that that is the number one issue on voters' minds right now, is the response to the pandemic. So frankly, even with Joe Biden saying ridiculous, horrible, racist things like this, it's still, I think, very high probability that Joe Biden will end up defeating Donald Trump, just because all of these things are going against Trump right now, and just his horrible record, since we've been in the middle of this pandemic. And again, both Biden and Trump, hugely racist, hugely problematic on these issues. And this is just another example of Biden being Joe Biden. For God's sakes, he's bragged in the past about working with segregationists to try to stop, like the busing initiative to desegregate schools. So, him saying this isn't surprising, but obviously hugely disgusting, disturbing, and racist. But I've come to expect nothing else from Joe Biden. And again, just think about this for a sec. This is the candidate that the Democratic establishment propped up, somebody who can't give, a 5-10 minute interview without completely forgetting what he's trying to say, without becoming nonsensical, who doesn't support, a policy program that actually helps a vast majority of people, that actually, a vast majority of people support things like Medicare for all, tuition-free college, Green New Deal. Doesn't support any of that, even during a pandemic. He said he would veto Medicare for all if somehow it passed. This is who the Democratic elite, the establishment, propped up. But again, Bernie Sanders, his campaign obviously had a lot of failings and made it a lot easier for Biden to get into this place. But American politics is just a fucking shit show. We have a far right party in the Republicans, and then a center right party, or maybe moderate right party, or whatever you want to call it, in the Democrats. As as Chomsky points out, we now have no real left or even moderate party in the U.S. It's disgusting. Peace.